Welcome to this edition of Hindsight is Horrifying, the show where three mostly normal and somewhat cynical adults discuss life as members of the TV generation. Now here are your hosts, Darth Jada, Jason Mitchell, and Adam B.
Hello, and we are back.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Another exciting excursion into whatever it is we do every week.
I don't know.
We pump adrenaline.
Yes,
to the
we do.
airwaves.
We pump something, that's for sure.
This is Hindsight is Horrifying, and we have got another movie for you today. And it was, Darth, it was your pick.
It was my pick this week, that's true.
And what awful thing did you make us watch? I'm kidding.
Easy. I actually picked a movie that scared the living hell out of me. I'll get into that in a moment. And my
Critters?
feelings-
We already did that.
No, that was Jason's fear when he was a little kid. I picked The Talented Mr. Ripley from 1999, Hindsighters. That
would be 20 years ago, I do believe, at this point. Maybe 23 years ago.
It was a while ago. Yeah, 1999, it feels like, 10, maybe 15 years ago. And then you look at the fact that it's 2022 and we've all been huddling inside for 3 years. And where has the time gone?
It has been an odd period of months.
We fell down a rabbit hole and just kept on tumbling.
Yes.
It's been a journey.
But anyway, we're alive. We're sound-ish. And what exactly was the motivation?
Okay, so the reason why I selected this movie, it's a great Alf to Seinfeld choice for me because I saw it when I was 12 years old. And my cousin Tara took me to see this movie. And Matt Damon wasn't really a household name. He had already won his Oscar for Good Will Hunting for writing that with Ben Affleck. So for writing Good Will Hunting on his own. And
in the same room as Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck was there. There was also weed involved, if you're to believe Family Guy, but I won't go down that path. But Matt Damon wasn't Matt Damon just yet. So, but people knew who he was. And so Tara was like, hey, let's go see this movie while the boys go see whatever dumb movie they went to go see. So my boy cousins went to see that movie. We went to see this one. And Hindsighters, Matt Damon scared the ever-loving piss out of me during this movie.
Really?
Oh, my God. And my 12-year-old self was like, who is this creepy guy? Because
that's the last reaction I would have expected.
Well, no, what really scared me, too, is the fact that I do imitations, as you guys have come to realize, and he does a lot of voices and impressions in this movie, and I was like, am I going to grow up to be creepy like this guy?
Too late.
I couldn't handle it because for those of you who have not seen this absolute gem by Anthony Minghella, is that how you pronounce it? Who also directed The English Patient. It's a brilliant movie, but Matt Damon is a serial murderer at the end of the day, and
doesn't start out that way though.
No, it doesn't. Well, I don't know because it's based on a novel by Patricia Highsmith, I believe, and The Talented Mr. Ripley. I think the novel character is very. He differs in a lot of ways from the movie Mr. Ripley. So, like, there's a difference between psychopath and sociopath. We can go down that rabbit hole later, but I think the movie Tom Ripley is vastly different from the book Tom Ripley. But we can discuss it.
See, I haven't read the book.
I haven't read the book, but I did a lot of research and I read the summary of it. So I believe that the book Tom Ripley falls more under the sociopath.
Isn't that funny that we used to get in trouble for doing that in school, just reading a summary of a book, but now we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Who has time to read a book?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's so much faster.
Hold on. Let's do some justification here because I took copious notes. I even wrote a lot of my own.
And your handwriting is beautiful.
That's actually more than Matt Damon wrote for Good Will, more than Ben Affleck wrote for Good Will Hunting. Yeah.
That's true. I'm very good at forging signatures and
so
doing
I have to pause for a moment. Are you saying that Ben Affleck did not write much for that? It was mostly
that's the
Matt
ongoing
Damon.
joke.
Oh, okay.
Is that people? I know you're not a big
It's very
Family Guy
believable
person,
too.
but they have a short where Matt Damon is typing away, studiously, and Ben Affleck's getting high on a couch behind him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, why don't you just throw my name in there too, dude?" He's like, "You didn't do anything or contribute in any way whatsoever."
But I'm better looking than you. All right, I'll put you.
Oh, see, that's another thing.
For now.
That's a Han and Luke thing. Some girls like Matt Damon, some girls like Ben Affleck. It just depends on your taste, I guess. I was always a Matt Damon girl myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Matt Damon certainly has always seemed like
after I got over my, dying fear of him from this movie. That is.
Let's talk about that. So this this scared you, and I'm
Oh,
fascinated
it
by
scared
that.
the living hell out of me. I'm not kidding. I couldn't look at pictures of him. He'd be in People magazine just smiling, looking like the all-American boy. And I was just like, oh my God, it's that guy from The Talented Mr. Ripley. Ugh. Like, I was terrified of Matt Damon for years.
And he lost 20 pounds, I think, for
30.
this one. 30 pounds.
Yeah, he
was
lost
a
a good
skinny
deal of weight.
thing.
Okay, so it scared you, and I want to tap that. I want to figure out exactly why.
You want to tap what now?
Your fear,
Yes,
not
the
you.
fear.
Yes.
Okay, just clarifying.
Because the movie is sort of like if you've ever seen Catch Me If You Can, only instead
That's
of being
what I thought of.
Yeah, instead of being wacky hijinks, it's murder.
Yeah.
And
kills-
repressed sexuality, a lot of things going on.
Well,
in
yeah,
this
he
movie.
kills 3 people,
Yes.
possibly
Possibly
mo-
4.
Yeah, possibly more. Yeah.
Maybe more, the whole family.
Well, you assume
Yeah.
he's going to kill more. Well, I don't know. So that we can talk
Yeah,
about it
let's
when
give him
we
the
get to
plot.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the synopsis of the movie for you hindsighters. To be young and carefree amid the blue waters and idyllic landscape of sun-drenched Italy in the late 1950s. That's La Dolce Vita. Tom Ripley, the life that Tom Ripley craves, and Dickie Greenleaf leads when Dickie's father asks Tom to bring his errant playboy son back home to America. Dickie and his beautiful expatriate girlfriend, Marge Sherwood, a.k.a. Gwyneth Paltrow, never suspect the dangerous extremes to which Ripley will go to make their lifestyle his own. So in the book, and I think it's important to delve into this right away, in the book, this is all planned out to a certain extent. So Tom Ripley from the get is a con man, a bad con man.
Wow.
He's not a
Okay,
skilled one.
that's a completely different
Yes,
angle.
because
Yeah.
in the movie, it's almost like he tumbled into this world of being
Yeah.
a con man. He's a hustler. He works multiple jobs in, the rustling city
Yeah, but he's
of
a
New York,
small
but-
time.
he's small potatoes, exactly. He takes piano jobs where he can get them. In fact, the reason why he's mistaken for an upper class kid in the first place is because Dickie Greenleaf's dad, Herbert Greenleaf, sees him in a Princeton jacket, class of 1956, and he's like, "Oh, you must have known Dickie. My kid went to Princeton the same year." And immediately, though, Tom falls into that and goes, "Oh yeah, Dickie, how is he?"
How's
Just
Dickie
pretending
doing?
that they were friends when they weren't. Now, Tom did spend time at Yale. He was tuning pianos on
Yeah.
campus, but he wasn't a student there.
Yale
Well,
or Princeton?
Princeton.
Oh, Princeton.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Princeton.
Yale.
Well, you see, and
One of those Ivy Leagues,
that's one of the differences between this and the Frank Abagnale story in Catch Me If You Can, because with they both have that instinctive ability, but Frank just does it. Like
He's smoother.
He's very smooth. You see a little flicker every once in a while in Matt Damon's face of almost like should I tell another lie and keep this up. Little hints that he doesn't want to do it. Frank Abagnale in Catch Me If You Can, he just loved it, and he was going to keep doing it until somebody stopped him,
Right.
which they did. But
Cue
now,
Tom Hanks.
but now he works for the FBI. So
And we're with
You know.
the FBI. But yeah, so in the book, though, Tom Ripley in the book is actually already a con man when he lives in New York. He's not a bathroom attendant / errant pianist like the movie one is. So he's actually running a con against the elderly, calling them on the phone, saying that he's the IRS and that they owe additional taxes and that they must submit those taxes via check. The problem is that
in
they're
iTunes gift cards.
You iTunes gift card. Anyway, the problem with that scam is that the checks are all made out to the Internal Revenue Service, so Tom can't cash them. Even though he's gotten thousands of dollars out of people, there's nothing he can do with the money. So he's not a skilled con man, but he's a con man nonetheless. So when Herbert Greenleaf in the book approaches Tom, he and they even abandon their projects with Dickie for different reasons. So in the movie, same basic story. It stays true to form. So Tom is sent to Italy by Herbert to fetch Dickie back to America. And things go awry for Tom in the movie when Herbert basically gives up and says, "Oh, okay, it doesn't look like you're having success bringing my son
Right.
back, so I'm no longer funding your lifestyle."
Right.
Whereas in the book, Dickie and Tom, they travel around Italy and become incredibly close. And Marge, the fiance of Dickie, she ends up confronting them for their closeness. And that's that's another thing we got to get into. That's the only hint of their relationship, the
Right.
two men. when Marge confronts them, and then Dickie turns kind of cold against Tom again. And then when Tom realizes that Dickie might be turning him out, he decides, like, makes the decision to kill him, as opposed to having like a lover spat with him on the boat and murdering him out of passion.
Beating the crap out of him with an oar.
They're in their early 20s. You know, you have a couple drinks, you're in close quarters.
Well,
things happen, right?
They did rail on
How
each
old
other.
were you when you were on a submarine?
Oh.
Oh, but there's no alcohol.
Is that too
There's
close
no
to
alcohol,
home?
though, so.
Not that anyone knew of, okay?
I'm interested
Yeah,
in this story. But
No,
yeah,
well, what strikes me about what you said most of all is the fact that this sort of setup, the inciting incident, which is that James Rebhorn, who plays Jude Law's dad, decides, hey, I just met this guy who says he knows my son. I'm going to give him the equivalent of like $15,000 today.
no,
Right.
I know the exact.
Oh, you
amount,
actually- okay, all
The
right.
inflationary calculation.
And send him to Italy via the Cunard line first class,
Oh yes.
which probably costs $20,000, you know, to get a first class transatlantic cruise, and just kind of hope that this works out. Not verify a single word that the guy said, just assume it, and somehow this guy runs a successful shipping company.
Well, think about it. Back then, he couldn't go on the web looking for other Princeton graduates that
true.
he might be able to send.
But he did hire Mr. Bookman from Seinfeld,
Yeah, that's right.
Inspector Bookman.
My note.
Actually, just saw him on TV last night.
My note disappeared somewhere, but it was a little over $10,000 that it
Okay.
inflates to.
Okay.
So the grand
about
that
right.
Herbert gives Tom, it would have been about 10 grand these days. But yeah, so, and like Adam said, it's not like he could look up a fellow Princeton student to go fetch his son, but the whole movie rides on that concept. If you think about it, it's not just Herbert Greenleaf who takes Tom's word for everything because he's a privileged white male. Like, he goes through the entire movie saying he's Dickie Greenleaf, and people believe
Yeah.
him. He's got outdated photos, and he's, getting some facts wrong here and there, and he stumbles, but people are mostly, whenever
Well-
he shows a little bit of outrage at being confronted, they're like, oh, sorry, Mr. Greenleaf. And they just,
But be fair, they are in Italy.
what does that have to do with it?
I'm just saying, I have a feeling like in the 1950s, if you're going to do like passport sort of fraud, probably Italy's a better bet than, say, Britain.
Just be quiet over there. Hey, ciao.
So, I mean, sorry about the picture not looking like me. It's okay. I don't even look.
Doesn't matter.
and it was a real picture that was glued into a book.
Yeah.
You can actually probably glue another picture
Yeah, just-
over it if you wanted to.
I mean, that's one of the things about like movies like this, or Catch Me If You Can, or any kind of hijinksy sort of movie. You can't do it today.
Hijinks. That's hard. I don't think that's really the right word for this movie.
Not to date myself, but my first driver's license didn't have a photo.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you could just hand somebody, here, tell them you're me.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't matter.
Oh, man, that must have been great.
That's a relatively new thing.
Didn't we just celebrate his 44th birthday?
For the 10th or 20th time. I love that birthday. It's my favorite. Proceed.
Anyway. Tom finds himself in Mangiabello, a fictitious town in
Mangiabello. You got to see it.
Mangiabello. Well, Mangi.
When they got the
as they all
festival,
call
where
it
the people
throughout
bringing the thing out of the water.
and then the
la-
girl.
And then the girl.
And
Okay.
then the pregnant girl up into the surface
pregnant
like
girl.
a baba.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this about the pregnant girl, because I did have this question when I watched the movie. Sylvana, who is the girl
Jude
that
Law's mistress.
Yeah, Jude Law is fooling around with.
So Tom comes to Italy, and he basically inserts himself into the lives of Marge Sherwood, Dickie's fiance, and Dickie Greenleaf. So meanwhile, Dickie is a playboy, and one of the things that Anthony said about casting Jude Law, I know some comments were made about him off camera
to
about
save
his
money?
acting abilities. And
No,
whatnot.
he's a good actor. It just doesn't cost a lot.
Well, no, I mean,
he's off-putting. I don't know why. I don't dislike the man at all, but
You kind of want to hit him a little
I
bit?
kind of want to hit him in the
Just a little
face.
slap.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Minghella said that as far as casting Jude Law, he said he needed somebody who was going to be charm on legs, somebody that he could see both men and women being attracted to, which is very important in this movie because as we come to find, Tom is, hosting these homoerotic tendencies toward Dickie, and I can never really tell if he does love Marge or if he simply pretends
I don't
because
think
that's
he,
what he's
I don't
supposed
think
to
he,
be
yeah, I don't think he loves
oriented
Marge.
toward. Yeah.
No.
So Tom just, even when he arrives in Italy, you sort of see the con man side of his personality come out because when he's first spying on Dickie and Marge out on the beach, you hear him speaking in Italian and he's saying, "Oh, I'm Dickie Greenleaf. This is my face," in Italian. And like saying that Marge is his fiance, but you wonder if that's just him trying to adopt some mannerisms that will make him passable to Dickie as a Princeton,
Well, that's a weird,
student?
that's a weird thing in the beginning of the Italian part of the movie, because he has like this plan almost. He picks up the shoes, he walks out, he turns around, he says, "Oh, hey," he
I
introduces.
just happened upon you, Dickie.
Yeah, and it's
Is it
sort of
you?
and it's sort of like, oh, okay, what's he doing? And then they go back. He tries to pass himself off as a former student, fellow student.
Yeah.
They end up back at Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow's villa, and he immediately spills the beans. And he does the thing where he starts imitating. Like, what do you do?
Herbert
Oh, I
Greenleaf.
imitate. And I had the
Jazz
impression
is
like,
just noise.
yeah, and I felt like Matt Damon's character was like building up towards like some kind of power play. Like, here's the deal, your dad sent me here. But then he just doesn't. And he just immediately goes off on this very weird path.
Well, no, it's sort of to win Dickie's trust. So in it, there's, they allude to the title, Jason, as we love. 'Cause,
Yes.
So Tom and Dickie are having a conversation at the villa, like you said, and Dickie tells him everybody should have one talent. What's yours? And Tom immediately, like you said, he's blatantly honest about this entire scheme to bring him back to his dad. He says, his talent, when he answers, he goes, forging signatures, telling lies, impersonating practically anybody. And instead of being off-put by, especially that first one, forging signatures, Dickie's amused. He's like, oh, well, that's 3. Nobody should have more than one talent. So he's the talented Mr. Ripley. There you go. And so he's clearly naturally built to just take over people's identities if he really wants to. But Dickie treats him as, a source of amusement as opposed to something to be suspicious of. Like at first he's a little bit cold in a kind of boyish way. Like, oh, look how pale he is, Marge. He's not even tan. Have you ever seen anybody so white, Marge? And he's making fun of him. But even like down to his taste, Dickie's such a yes man. He tries to plant like all the same interests. Like, oh yeah, I love jazz too. And I love this musician. And oh, Bird's the name of my sailboat. And of course they bond over that. So Dickie just,
Which is, I don't know. It just seems a little obvious. Like if I had a sailboat named Pink Floyd and somebody was like, "Oh, my favorite is Pink Floyd," look behind me.
oh, look at this huge boat.
I have a
sitting
boat
behind
named
us.
Pink Floyd. Let's have sex.
We're destined to be together. That's right.
Yeah.
But I never got the impression that he was smooth. He was kind of building as he went. He was a little clumsy at times. There's some grifters that are so smooth, so suave that they make no mistakes. He made a lot of mistakes, and then of course toward the end he had to try to cover them up in a very grisly way.
Well, that's why I think the movie one is so different from the novel Tom, because this Tom makes a lot of mistakes and he almost gets caught at a few turns, but things just kind of work out for him because of this like level of politeness that the upper class was expected to have. So when he gets uppity, when they start accusing him of things, like even later in the movie when they're like, "Are you a homosexual?" and he's like, "Excuse me," and gets outraged by it.
Oh my God.
Oh my stars. It's that male outrage that actually saves him at almost every turn, because he's like, "What are you accusing me of? Say it, to my face," and he gets all flustered about it. But that, with every authoritative figure, with everybody, they're just like, "Oh yeah, sorry about that."
Tell him I'm not gay, Steve from Coupling.
And poor Jack Davenport, Commodore Norrington, as I like to refer
also
to him.
also that.
Yes.
He's done some other stuff, but in my opinion, his role in Coupling was his best.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
but
he's fantastic. in
he
that.
sadly gets a short drop and a sudden stop at the end of this movie.
What you were saying though about the differences, the making the character more.
Sociopathic instead of psychopathic.
Yeah, I think, and I'm just guessing here, I'm not trying to read minds, but I suspect that the screenwriter probably wanted to make Ripley more of an the every guy, more of the relatable characters. So it's sort of like, it's a very powerful thing in movies to take a character that's like you.
Well, I think Minghella adapted the script, and he actually made it his final say who got to be Tom Ripley. And he defended that, saying that he chose Matt Damon, because guess who turned down the title role to be Tom Ripley?
Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, because you keep bringing up Catch Me If You Can.
Obviously Leonardo DiCaprio, yeah.
It was, and Matt Damon was just like, I threw my hat into the ring and was begging for the job.
But not even so much from a casting standpoint, but just from a writing standpoint. You've got this concept of a character who maybe makes a mistake, he tells a lie, and then something bad happens, and he tells another lie to cover that up, and then it gets worse, and then he's killed someone. And it's like that, for certain types of personalities, myself included, that's the sort of nightmare you have, where like you have a dream that you've done something and you're like, oh my God. And I have to deal with the consequences of this, and then you wake up and go, oh, I didn't.
Thank God I didn't drown those kittens or something.
Hey, God damn. I'm talking about killing people, not kittens.
I thought you were talking about,
Jesus.
Come on. He was talking about killing, monster. But not cute little kittens.
Yeah.
Twirling my mustache. I'm a true villain.
Well, that's why I always tell the truth. It's just much easier.
Way easier.
Well, it turns out your parents weren't lying about that.
No, they
when
were
you're
not.
Growing up, the truth will set you free.
Well, I mean, one of the things they teach you when
in this case,
you start doing interrogations, you sit down with whoever it is you're interrogating, or even if it's just like a witness and you're not necessarily interrogating them, but you ask them, tell me everything that happened, and they'll give it to you in sort of a chronological event. And then you start asking them about stuff out of sequence. And if you're telling the truth, you're going to be fine because you just have to remember.
Right.
But if you're lying, you're always trying to
you're
reconstructing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they train a lot of people to do it. Like cops, you'll tell them, oh yeah, I had 2 beers over the course of 3 hours. Oh, so you had several beers at the bar? No, I said I had 2. Like it's just
actually there's a different reason cops do that because they're trying to trick you into saying something that isn't true.
That's right.
Yeah. The ladies in the movie,
Kate Blanchett and
Gwyneth Paltrow, who would work again with Jude Law in a huge flop of a movie.
Aww.
Does anyone? I'm actually curious if either of you have even heard of the movie. That science fiction movie.
I'm trying to remember.
Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, lay it on us.
Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
Yes, I love that movie. It's so trash.
I have tried. Yes, Angelina Jolie. Yeah.
She wears an eye patch the entire time.
Yeah,
just because it's cool.
And it's in black and is it black and white or is it like low res color?
It's low res color.
I think it's low res color.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like evocative of like the old serials from
Meg
the 20s.
and I love that movie. It's terrible.
I have never made it to the end.
Oh, it's so terrible. I can't even.
I've gotten bored. I like get halfway into it and I'm
gun to my head. I can't tell you what it's about, but I love that movie. It's so
Sky
bad.
Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
Watch out for that Hitler.
Yeah,
that's exactly what that movie was.
But yeah, so they
it was a Jude Law vehicle that crashed.
Yeah, and I think both of them ended up at Philip Seymour Hoffman's funeral. I don't think Matt Damon was there because I was reading that article today. Because anytime I see,
why wasn't Matt Damon there?
It just wasn't. It wasn't on the list I saw.
He was filming.
Okay.
Yeah,
he was busy.
At a
I mean, he's still a working actor.
Because every time I see a movie with Philip Seymour Hoffman in it now, I just go, "Hey, oh yeah."
Rest in peace, buddy.
That sucks.
Yeah, because, I mean, the more movies you watch, especially ones you haven't seen in a while, because the last time I saw this movie, all the actors involved were still alive. That is no longer the case.
No, James Rebhorn is gone.
And well, tell the hindsighters who James Rebhorn is, for those who don't know.
James Rebhorn plays what's the dad's name? Herbert Greenleaf. And James Rebhorn was one of those veteran character actors.
Oh, he was amazing.
You would throw James Rebhorn in anytime you needed just a solid performance out of somebody. He was in a lot of stuff. Scent of a Woman. You
love that movie.
Oh, fantastic movie. One of my all-time favorites.
Another Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, another Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's true. He was in From the Earth to the Moon. He's been in a ton of stuff. And for some reason, I've always sort of linked him and Bob Balaban. Like, they're on the same level. And thank God we still have Bob Balaban. So, hopefully 2022 will be kind to us and we won't lose him.
But before we take our break, Jason, getting back to you were bringing up the ladies of this movie. So we have Cate Blanchett, who we actually passed over. So it's good that we're talking about them.
Not nearly as big a role as I thought she was going to have.
Well, the reason why the role that she plays is even as sizable as it is because Minghella was just infatuated with Cate Blanchett. When he was casting for the movie, he wanted a Cate Blanchett type and then was amazed when she herself actually showed interest in playing Meredith Logue. So Meredith is actually the first of the sort of Richie Rich crowd that Tom encounters when he lands in Italy.
Don't you just hate having money?
Well, yeah, they
fuck you.
Well, it's that entire,
It's such a burden.
Yeah,
It really
that
is.
entire social set where they're just Gwyneth Paltrow is just like, oh, I couldn't stand the heirs of everyone in New York, and so I just ran off to Paris immediately to work on my book. And it's just shut up.
Yeah.
I hate all of you.
Well, see, and that's another thing about the movie is that I didn't give a shit for anyone in
They're
it.
terrible people.
Anyone. I mean, it was like,
Marge is not a bad person. She's
well, that's true. Yeah,
she's-
that's true.
She's pretty cool, and Meredith doesn't really do anything wrong either. So the women are not actually that terrible.
Well, but they are insufferable.
They're
not like overtly bad people doing bad things, but I just don't care. There's no one in this movie that I'm like, God, I hope that guy comes out on top. Oops.
Yeah, and not that I'm.
He may have.
And it's popular to hate on Gwyneth Paltrow these days due to Goop, whatever other things people pile on for with her. But she strikes me as a naturally born Karen. I mean, when your mother's Blythe Danner, you don't have much of a choice.
I don't know. I don't see a Karen coming up with what does she have, like a vagina candle?
Yeah, Goop. That's what I just brought up.
No, but that's one of their products, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't really even know how that would work.
I thought that was the name of the candle. I didn't know it was the company name.
Oh, wait, it's like a scented candle?
Yeah, it smells like Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina. That's the entire gist.
I have one. I'll bring mine into next
Oh,
week.
dear. Oh my God, Adam. Ew.
Clean it off a little bit.
On that note, I think we might need to take a break, please.
Yeah.
Please.
It smells a little like my butt now. I don't know why. But let's. How about we cut?
Wait. Yeah, I don't.
Get me the hell out of
Yeah.
here.
We're going to take a break because I need to use my whiteboard for a minute. We'll be back in about 1 second. And we're back.
Isn't Italy beautiful?
At a
It
very
is.
different part
It
of the
really
movie.
is. Well, yeah, it's amazing how the tone changes from the first half to the second half.
Oh, absolutely.
Because now, Steve from Coupling is in it.
Yes, Commodore Norrington, or Lieutenant Norrington becomes Commodore Norrington.
Does he die in those?
No, of course not.
Oh, well, I don't know. I've never seen him.
You've never seen Pirates of the Caribbean?
I saw the first one.
Okay.
I saw the first one.
When he was lieutenant.
Yeah. I did
No,
not.
Well, he becomes Commodore pretty damn quickly.
Yeah.
Like,
Regular ratio
for-
hornblower.
And that's how he got promoted.
do we,
Works for the best of us.
how do you make a fuzzy navel? We got any nectarine juice? Anyway.
So things are
Oh, no,
going.
he does die in Pirates of the Caribbean. Damn it, Jason.
Does
You
he
made me
become?
spoil that for everyone.
Does he become a ghost?
How is that my fault? I just asked if he.
Oh, my God. Now I've got to double check myself before I recommend.
Wait a minute.
No, we don't need to go. down that.
Wait. Ms.
rabbit hole.
Super fan Pirates of the Caribbean.
You
And
have me doubting myself.
I didn't suggest otherwise. I just asked the question.
Yes.
These
I
are
know,
hard.
no, okay. Yes, he does die. Spoiler alert. He gets stabbed by one of Davy Jones' crew because he's helping Elizabeth and her crew escape in the third movie.
He becomes a good guy.
Well, he starts out as a good guy. He's mostly the good guy throughout it. It's Jack fucking up his life the entire time. So it doesn't matter.
But he does perform admirably in this film. I
I
think.
kind of
Oh,
shut
yeah,
it out because
yeah.
he's such a good character in everything that he's in. I
Oh,
love
he's
Jack Davenport.
he's a great actor. He's one of those guys that you see and you think
He doesn't die as Steve on Coupling, though. That's the good news.
that's true. He survives
He
coupling.
survives,
Yeah, he survives
coupling.
coupling.
The British version of Friends, or the American version of
I
Coupling
think
is.
How many seasons?
Which one came first?
3 seasons.
Oh, okay.
No, 4. Weren't
Was
they?
it 4?
I think so.
I can't remember. Friends came first.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes, the British version of
coupling
Friends.
was like 2000. It's like
Okay,
2000
yeah.
to 2004,
You're right,
somewhere
Friends
around
came
there.
along in the 90s. Okay.
Really, really good show though. Hysterical show done by it's gonna kill me. The guy who took over Doctor Who.
Matt Smith.
No. The producer, the showrunner.
I don't remember.
This is gonna absolutely kill me. I'll think about it.
But Jack Davenport is in this movie is the reason why we fell down that rabbit hole. The point is, oh wow, we really have skipped ahead because this is a long movie, Hindsighters. It's well over 2 hours long. So, as we discussed, Tom truly covets the lifestyle of Dickie Greenleaf, and at first he's fine with just glomming on to Dickie's existence and going along with him to all the jazz clubs and such. But then, I don't think Tom means it as sinister, but it comes across that way. He starts developing deeper feelings for Dickie, and
He likes Dickie?
yeah,
Is that kind of what you're saying?
take it all, Dickie.
He
I like me some Dickie. Now,
Did
those
you
his,
used to have to wear a
Stephen Moffat. Stephen Moffat, who also produced
Oh my
the
God. How did I
who
not know?
who also
God.
produced the Sherlock Holmes, the Benedict Cumberbatch.
Everything.
Yeah.
Stephen Moffat walked into a bar, everybody died. We know.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't even remember why we were trying to connect that.
Yeah,
But
those-
that's the
because
fact.
he was coupling with
Yeah,
Jack
yeah,
Davenport.
Are those his real teeth or are those prosthetic teeth? They look a little
Matt Damon's?
Matt Damon's
In
teeth.
all of my
Matt
thorough research, I
Damon.
haven't Matt Damon. I haven't.
I think
seen
they're his
anything.
teeth. He's probably had work done on
He
them.
probably has. He had them
Oh,
tightened up.
probably. But you have to give credit to Matt Damon because I think he's one of those guys, Jason. You've measured actors like this before, like Mel Gibson before his crack up. He's the kind of guy that you would want to have a beer with. I've always felt that way about Matt Damon because especially when Team America came along and they asked him about his reaction to his fictionalized character of himself, his puppet self, as it were, Sean Penn was livid and he was just like, this is a mar on cinema history and I'm Sean Penn. He was so angry. Meanwhile, Matt Damon, the reason why I lapsed earlier and said Yale, Matt Damon actually went to Yale for a few years and dropped out. So I had Yale on the brain because it's Matt Damon. But
All right.
By the way, if
So-
anybody at home can hear a strange sort of rumbly sound, it is raining outside our
it
studio.
is Armageddon
So that is,
right now.
don't
But-
joke. It could be. Oops.
I mean, it's 2022. What
Yeah.
the hell else is going to happen? And I'm not even saying that to like confront the universe.
I'm getting outta
at
here.
No,
yeah.
but seriously, Matt Damon attended Yale in real life, dropped out to pursue acting, and I was going somewhere with that. Oh, his reaction to his puppet self. So he could be snootier in real life. He could be a Dickie Greenleaf if he really wanted to be because, I'm, the Ivy League, whatever. But no, they're like, Matt Damon, how did you feel about the fact that your puppet was basically so mentally disabled that he could only remember his own name? And he was like, I thought it was funny as hell. Like,
See, that's
he
how
had
you
a
do
great
it. You got to get
reaction.
ahead of the joke.
Yeah.
You got to be like Shatner.
But don't take yourself so seriously. We're all going to be in the same place in 100 years. Just have fun with it. That's the thing.
To the point. So I don't know if you guys know this about, I think it was the second Deadpool. Did you know that Matt Damon is in it?
No, really?
Yeah, he's one of the two rednecks
Yes.
with is Nathan Fillion?
Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Firefly.
That's a fair mistake.
And they're both in such like crazy makeup and prosthetics on their face. They're unrecognizable. But
Well, look at Brad Pitt.
yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah,
pretty cool
Brad
too.
Pitt.
But hang on. So Matt Damon's in Deadpool 2 with Alan Tudyk being that redneck, and guess what his character's name is in that movie?
I don't know.
Dickie Greenleaf.
No.
Oh,
Yes.
All right.
they got married.
Now I
No,
got
I'm kidding.
I got to look
Got
that up.
married.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's in my research.
Hindsighters, look that up
Hindsurfers?
now. Hindsurfers.
It is
did a
tough. It
quick
is tough.
shot.
It is tough to say.
But it is a movie
Cameron.
about hindsurfers, this movie. But
Oh.
So the guy
Why don't
who
we get
plays
into it?
the guy who plays Steve, so he's got to
The guy who plays Steve.
uncoupling. I don't know what his actual
Peter is his name in this. His name is
Peter
Jack
Dickie
Davenport.
Jack Davenport.
But he plays a character named
Yeah.
Peter who's
Jack-
friends with Marge,
Yeah,
the fiance.
so Jack Davenport, his list of on-screen romances includes Matt Damon and Sarah Alexander. So that's
He's batting 1,000.
that's pretty good, no matter which team you're on. You know,
Yeah. Because Matt Damon's a
Well,
good-looking dude.
did you ever, you've seen the Matt Damon Jimmy Kimmel kind of shtick?
Where Jimmy keeps playing like, oh, we're all out of time.
Yeah, we're going to bring Matt in. Oh, we're out of time. And then they have a big fight. Well, Matt Damon has an affair with his girlfriend, Sarah Silverman. And they make a whole bit about that, which is very funny. And then the other Matt Damon,
What a great story.
what is his name?
The other Matt Damon.
other Matt
What are you
Damon.
talking about?
Yeah, his partner who never does any work, who plays
Ben
Batman.
Affleck.
Ben Affleck, yeah. I call him the other
no,
Matt
he's
Damon.
not the latest Batman.
I don't want to talk about Batman.
I didn't hate it.
But that's the best you can say.
No,
that's
How was it? I didn't hate it.
Hindsighters.
It's a hit.
I won't give anything away. What I will say about the newest Batman, they don't call him Batman. They call him the Vengeance throughout the movie. But the star of the movie is Rob Pattinson's Boots. Go see it and disagree with me. Let's see what happens.
All right.
But anyway, yeah. So Ben Affleck, what about him?
Well, then they have that shtick, and then Jimmy Kimmel has an affair with the other Ben Affleck. So as he gets back at Matt Damon.
Did you have a stroke and no one noticed?
I might have.
What's happening?
So I'm sorry. It's late. I had a hard day, and I'm just starting to wind down after having a huge meal.
Oh, yes. I fed him Hindsighter, so now he's...
But Ben Affleck and Jimmy Kimmel have a little to-do to make fun of the Matt Damon and Sarah Silverman thing. You've never seen that?
I have seen portions of it. I didn't realize that Ben Affleck was
It is raw.
involved.
It is gross, and you all
because
have to see it.
Hindsighters, for those of you who don't know, Jimmy Kimmel was basically pulling a prank on Matt Damon for the longest time since he has his night show. He would put Matt Damon on the roster to appear as a guest and then leave him till the very end and be like, "Oh, that's it. We're all out of time. Sorry, Matt Damon. Maybe next time." And he did this to him repeatedly to the point where... And I think it was all planned out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was all,
but,
it's all. Yeah.
But they cut the mics, as it were, and Matt Damon's just sitting there just going nuts on Jimmy Kimmel on the set and screaming at him. It was actually a pretty good shtick.
Oh, if only it wasn't, if only it was real.
That'd make it so much better.
I'd love to live in a world where Matt Damon actually beat the crap out of him.
That'd be lovely.
Okay, so
we've passed a huge part of the movie, which is that Tom murders Dickie. So in the movie versus the book, where the book, it's all planned out.
That'd be a great way of saying I gotta go poo. Gotta go murder Dickie.
Gotta go beat Dickie with a paddle.
That's a whole thing.
That's a different thing
entirely. Actually.
Oh God. So yeah, Dickie is running around on Marge. He impregnates a local Italian woman in Manji. Her name is Silvana. And during a festival in their town, Silvana drowns herself because it's the 50s. It's a very Catholic country. She can't be married,
But suicide is a mortal sin. And
Yeah,
if you're that Catholic,
yeah,
because it's like
there's some juxtaposition.
That's why I wonder if I genuinely wonder if she killed herself. I wonder.
Dickie didn't kill her.
I wonder about Jude Law.
That's what I'm saying. Dickie is Jude Law.
Okay, all right, but how do you know he didn't?
He was kind of freaking out about it.
That came across as fake to me.
Really?
I thought it was fake, but I mean, obviously it was fake. It was acting, but I mean,
especially if it's Jude Law's acting.
I don't know. I felt like how he's up there, making a big fuss. Call an ambulance. And everyone's like, she's dead. And he's like, call an ambulance. Call an ambulance.
That was kind of his guilt because he runs around life, and Minghella actually made a note about this, how Dickie is the one who loves jazz and he's committed to that, freelance kind of freewheeling lifestyle. And Tom seems to be the more conservative one because he's into the classical music and he plays the piano. But really, Tom is the one who knows how to improvise at the end of the day. He's the jazz artist because, he rolls with the punches and kills these people and then assumes their identity, whatever. But Dickie, that's where his guilt comes out. Sylvana dies and he's like, why won't anybody call an ambulance? Somebody do something. And then he confesses to Tom that he impregnated Sylvana, and Marge knows, but she doesn't know for sure. She knows that Dickie runs around on her because she has a pretty poignant moment with Tom. On the boat because Freddie Miles comes in and wrecks the whole, vibe between Dickie and Tom by stealing Dickie's attention away from Tom, and Tom starts to get jealous and irrational. And they're all out sailing. Tom is supposed to go skiing with them come Christmas, but suddenly Freddie shows up and he's not invited anymore. And Marge specifically says,
bitch.
Hey, I'm not getting derailed. The thing, she says, the thing with Dickie, it's like the sun shines on you and it's glorious. And when he forgets you, it's very, very cold. When you have his attention, you feel like you're the only person in the world. That's why everybody loves him. It's always the same whenever he meets somebody new. And that's just the boys. So she knows that he's running around on her.
Yeah.
But she can't point fingers specifically because she runs into Sylvana at the market and she's like, oh, yeah, apples, please. How are you today, Sylvana? She's none the wiser as to who it is.
Yeah. And, I suppose it could be, you could also interpret the Silvano thing as Tom Ripley killed her. He
does volunteer. He's like, I could take responsibility.
Yeah. He's really quick to, I'll do whatever.
Right.
And if he knew something was wrong, or just in some way, if he just came to the conclusion that she should die, I could see him doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
It's sort of like at the end with Steve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve. I think with Peter.
With Peter.
I think the problem with Tom's character is that he's so eager to fit in and please. Like, he's doing everything correctly on paper because when Sylvana does die, he does volunteer to take responsibility for impregnating her because he has no status to lose. So theoretically, him taking responsibility should relieve Dickie and Dickie should be grateful to him and be like, "Oh yeah, stay with me forever. You're awesome. You're my scapegoat." We need an scapegoat, Jason. But so Tom offers to be the scapegoat, but I didn't really interpret that as him having killed her to get her out of Dickie's way.
I think it's just possible.
Right.
Or I didn't think Dickie killed her either, but that's the one time you see Dickie really with a conscience because he was like, she came to me for money to solve the problem of being pregnant, and I didn't help her, and now she's dead. If you're that Catholic, once again, you're getting an abortion.
Well, yeah, and also if you're Jude Law's character and you're a complete dirtbag, and a girl comes up to you and says, "I need money to
abort
get
your
fixed,"
baby.
it seems like not only
did you just say get fixed?
yeah,
He's the fixer.
it seems like
It's that easy.
you can't unscrew a light bulb. But it seems like not only would he give her the money, but he would drive her there,
Right.
and he would stand there and make.
Where's Ari Shafir when you need
Look,
her?
I'm not advocating for any of this. I'm just saying that character.
Call Jason
It
at
seems
555.
yeah,
1212.
and it's a fake number.
Yes, it is.
No. No, it just seems to me like if you're that sort of character that it's everything is about you, totally self-centered, you would just go ahead and
it would be your idea.
Yeah, like he would be the one going, no, we're going.
Because he doesn't want
I'd like
Marge
to see your
find out.
quietest doctor, please.
But this just shows you how when you're young, lust can be blind because Dickie is not charming at all to me from an outsider. I just want to beat the shit out of him, because he's, but he doesn't treat anyone. Sometimes people who are natural charmers, they really draw you in, but he's just an overuser.
Yeah.
Well, people,
and he's a douche.
To
douche.
him, people are sources of amusement.
Exactly.
And Marge just got him pegged as far as that goes because that's what she's telling Tom. Like, yeah, he's not looking at you anymore, so it's cold. Like, the sun isn't shining on you anymore.
And why does she stay with him? She likes that lifestyle too, right?
Well, because he keeps coming back to her for some reason. Because that's why he and Tom eventually have their lovers' quarrel on the boat. So Dickie, after Sylvana dies,
we just got a little bit of Damon butt.
we got some Damon ass.
Damon.
He's after all the other boys'
I need
asses.
to
We
check
just-
your asshole.
You ever do hard time, Doc?
He has a
But-
candle for it. Smells like my vagina. Anyway,
What was that voice?
that was Sean Connery. He loves Gwyneth
Sean
Paltrow's
Connery-
candles. Oh, Trebek, you puffed up.
Sean Connery is actually the person who you would like to see teleported into this movie. Stop mincing about. You, Paltrow, you're with me.
Slaps her.
Right in the ass. Wacko.
But Dickie is so guilty of Sylvana's death that he wants to leave Manji and start over in a new city in Italy somewhere. And so he and Tom go scouting in a boat to find a new place. And Dickie starts making fun of Tom and calling him boring and calling him a leech. And so Tom gets so worked up over it that he slaps Dickie over the head with a boat oar and like splits his head open.
Yeah, cuts the shit out of him.
Well,
It was
and-
bleeding profusely.
Yeah.
In an interview, Jude Law said that they messed each other up pretty badly, even like play fighting. They both broke ribs in this fight. Jude Law
Tough
left.
being an actor.
Yeah.
Jude Law left like a bruise around Matt Damon's neck, so it got pretty, lemony on that boat.
Lemony snickets.
lemony fresh. But so yeah, Tom murders Dickie and then assumes his identity.
Yeah.
And
then Freddie clues into it. So
Freddie
Tom-
doesn't. I mean, Freddie.
He's pretty suspicious.
Yeah, he is. And well, Freddie's possibly he's one of the more despicable friends of Dickie. He's even worse than Dickie.
Oh yeah, you
because
just hate him.
Like his first line, I think in the movie, he rides up to them in Rome and he's like, "Oh, don't you want to sleep with every woman you see just once?" Like, And he's like, at least once, and he just flaunts the fact that he has affairs left and right. And like, oh, you think I'm drunk? Think about what her husband must be doing, or just something like that. To the point where Tom despises him. So when he kills Freddy, he's like, oh, you think I'm drunk? Guess what her husband's doing? Like, he does an impersonation. And every reaction is different when he murders somebody. So when he murders Dickie, it's like shock and regret, and then immediate adaptation because he's got to sink the boat, sink Dickie's body, adapt to the situation.
He's got to cover up. He's got
cover things up. He mourns Dickie and like cuddles with his body.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking creepy. But see, and that's another problem I had with the movie. If I was in a situation where it was like, oh man, I committed these murders here in sunny Italy.
Here I go killing again.
Yeah, and I have access to money. I'm going to get the money, put it in a Swiss bank account, and get the fuck out of Italy. I'm going to go to Tokyo.
Well, that's the problem. He doesn't. He doesn't have. He has a fixed amount of money, just like Dickie does, because Dickie gets like an allowance from his father, and that's what he lives on because. When Tom like couples their money together, Dickie's like, oh, let's get a car, even though he doesn't know how to drive. And Marge is like, no, let's get something more practical, like a refrigerator. That'd be awesome.
An icebox.
An icebox. And
well, that actually makes a lot of sense, though, because one of the big flaws in the movie, you notice the scene where Freddy drives up for the first time is in an Alfa Romeo. And he drives up and he parks and he gets out and, says that line that you just mentioned. And that's actually flawed because there's no way an Alfa Romeo would have made it that far.
It's in turn, idiot.
So,
that's where they make Fiats.
So basically, if the choice is between an Alfa Romeo and an icebox, the icebox is probably your wiser investment.
It may run longer.
Yeah.
For as long as Dickie's going to be interested, it'll suit his life span.
Well, you know what Fiat stands for, don't you?
Fix it again, Tony.
Thank you very much. It says it's how
I
you
pay attention when you talk.
It's like, what is Lotus? Lots of trouble, usually serious.
Oh, that is.
And this is coming from a guy who drives a Jag, so I know I'm tempting fate.
I'm making fun of you.
Yours still runs great, though.
It still does.
I love it.
It still does.
As he roars out of the studio every day.
Although I am actually thinking of, I'm not getting rid of the Jag, but I was thinking with the price of fuel getting so expensive that it's actually cheaper just to do cocaine and run everywhere.
You'll lose a hell of a lot of weight, too, hindsighters.
Yeah. That's not my joke. I don't even know who came up with that, but I heard it from somebody else.
It's good. It was good.
I'm actually thinking of getting a Vespa.
Nice.
And going, ciao.
Just be quiet over there. Hey, ciao.
Because I found out we actually have a Vespa dealer not that far from here, and they're like really cheap.
Well, and
you get 80 miles to the gallon.
And you don't have to go fast, actually, Jason. You just crouch down to look like you're going
exactly,
fast.
And you have to go through a lot of traffic circles. You have to,
of course.
Yeah.
And put a dog on there so his ears are flapping in the wind, like on a
striped
speedboat.
shirt.
Exactly.
I'll have to start smoking again.
Of course you will.
You'll have to have your hair cut neat and in your wartime coat in the wind and sleet.
Yes. Ciao.
Hey, just be quiet over there. Ciao. There's a bank raid going on in the distance.
We could do this all day.
We could. We love you, Eddie Izzard.
But it all comes tumbling down.
Yes, because the progression
but
of
then
murders,
it doesn't.
And it ends more or less the same way from movie to book.
Well, there's two endings. It's got two endings.
Okay, explain.
Well, because the first ending is the confrontation between Tom Ripley and the detective, where you think, well, the detective's about to drop the hammer on him.
The gig is up.
Yeah, but then as it turns out, the detective is basically, God damn it! But
I did not want to disrupt you, but she did it.
But as it turns out, the detective representing Dickie's father, Big Dickie, he. Well, big,
big and little.
Keep
younger,
going,
whatever,
God,
fine.
Grand.
Yeah. So he basically says, "Look, we know what happened. We actually think that you've been a super good friend in all of this, and we're going to give you some money. We're going to give you a nice chunk of money.
Why?
Well,
hush money,
perhaps.
Yeah, because it comes to light. So you think that Tom is going to be busted at the end.
Yeah.
And Marge is wise to his act. She knows that Tom...
But she's a woman.
Yes, and they even call her hysterical.
We don't take them seriously.
Right.
Yeah, you don't take us seriously now, but whatever.
We say we do at least. It's a step in the right direction.
Anyway,
Proceed.
No, but seriously, so Marge is hip to the whole game. She knows that Tom murdered
Doesn't have
Dickie,
proof, though.
She doesn't have proof, except, well,
She just knows
she draws two very different conclusions from the movie to the book when she finds Dickie's ring. So there's some setup to that. When Dickie's still alive, she buys him this hideous pinky ring, Tom. I'm never allowed to take it off. And she's like, oh, yes, he swore to me that he'd never take it off ever. And even after he supposedly leaves her for another woman, which he was running around on her in real life, so it's not that big of a stretch.
Yeah.
Tom makes it out that he's like, all right, Marge, I'm going over here to figure out my feelings for you. Maybe I'm seeing other women, who knows? And he just paints this, terrible picture of Dickie, pretending that Dickie's still alive so that he can continue to spend Dickie's allowance and pretend to be Dickie. But so Marge finds the rings in Tom's apartment because Tom, can't let go of that piece of Dickie because he was in love with him. And you'd think that a smart person would have gotten rid of all the evidence, but he doesn't.
So he was holding on to a little Dickie.
He was holding on to Dickie's ring.
He liked the dick ring.
Okay.
And so Marge finds the rings in Tom's apartment.
So
and she
it fits around his pinky,
but this
though.
is important because in the movie, she then figures out, oh my God, Tom murdered Dickie and I've got to get away from him. And that's where he has that creepy speech where he's like,
well, he's going to kill her.
yeah, because he puts a razor in his pocket.
Oh, yeah, no,
and
yeah.
he's
Tom is going absolutely to murder her.
Oh yeah, because his hand starts to bleed in the pocket, and he's about to cut her with his razor, but he's like, "Just write it down on a card and put it in your purse that Tom loves Marge. Save it for a rainy day. You're shivering, Marge. Can I hold you?" And it's the creepiest fucking speech ever. Another reason why I was terrified of Matt Damon.
Yeah,
that would be
but
scary.
In the book, Marge finds the rings, same circumstances, but then immediately draws the conclusion that Dickie killed himself. She assumes that, but in both instances, and this is also a little different. So Tom, in both stories, writes a suicide note from Dickie. Now, in the movie, it's literally more about the relationship, like, oh, I wish I had treated you better and all the people in my life better. I'm not a good guy, whatever. And so he sort of leaves it at that as just a suicide note on Dickie's behalf. But in the book, Tom is actually brazen enough to actually plan it out, and Dickie leaves his money to Tom. Like, he actually writes that note and sends it to Herbert, so the senior Greenleaf. And in the book, they just take the letter and they're like, okay, you know what? Dickie, willed this to happen. So Tom winds up with all of Dickie's estate. Whereas in the movie, it comes to light that Dickie had all these transgressions. The reason why he's in Europe in the first place is because he beat a boy to within an inch of his life at school. And so Herbert sent him abroad to get away from the charges, and Dickie's been knocking women up and just been a bit of a scamp his entire life. So yeah, the detective discovers everything about Sylvana and all the evidence that Tom left behind that should be bringing light to the fact that he's the criminal. They end up drawing the wrong conclusion and thinking, oh yeah, Dickie was a bad guy and he killed himself. So Herbert Greenleaf actually gets part of Dickie's inheritance to Tom. So either way he gets off almost scot-free. In the book, he gets completely scot-free.
Well, that's the first ending. The second ending is then on the boat where he
because he runs off with Peter because he and Peter develop a relationship.
Yeah, so they appear to be sailing away to start their new life, and everything's going to work out fine. But then Cate Blanchett shows up, and solely because Tom Ripley can't figure out a way of, while we're on this boat, doing both at the same time. The only outcome is he's got to get rid of one of them.
Right.
There's her and her parents, so that's 3 people. It's just Peter.
Right.
So Peter's going to go.
But at the end of the day, he chose the more difficult path because he had sewn everything up so nicely. Dickie's dead. He doesn't have to worry about leading the double life anymore, but he chose the path where he's still going to have to lead the double life. Yeah. And so people are going to think Dickie's still alive. Who knows? But what we didn't discuss is when he first runs into Meredith Logue, a.k.a. Cate Blanchett in the beginning, it's his first taste of pretending to be an Ivy Leaguer where she's like, oh, aren't you Dickie Greenleaf? But I saw you traveling with the R's. Why was your luggage in the R section? And he's like, oh, I travel under my mother's name.
What's your mother's name?
And he didn't
Emily.
say, but...
Remember?
I'm
just kidding.
He says that as his first name right there at the end of the movie. You're throwing off my rhythm.
Oh, sorry.
You threw off my groove. No, but so she's like, oh, I travel under my mother's name too because I just can't stand all the code.
Oh, I hate having money. Money
It's
sucks.
so annoying because there are two.
This movie could have ended with a nuclear bomb, and it would have been
better.
All right, fine.
But
and they all die.
So Meredith she keeps reappearing in Tom's life. So she thinks he's Dickie throughout the story. And he sort of dates her a little bit when he's in Rome after Tom has actually killed Dickie. He's posing as Dickie, but Marge is still trying to hunt him down. So everything gets complicated. So he dumps Kate Blanchett to simplify matters. And then she runs into him again on the boat. When he's finally scot-free, away from everything, and he's with Peter, he gets to lead his fabulous gay life. Good for him. But then Kate Blanchett frickin' shows up and ruins it because she still thinks he's Dickie.
Yeah. Boy, you got to feel bad for Peter.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Although I think Peter
dies such a sad death.
Yeah, he really does.
They all go out pretty hard
Yeah.
before Peter. And this was different too. So Matt Damon was pretty either angry or passionate with two of the people that he killed. But with Peter, he tried to be as gentle as possible, I guess, because he kills him.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's
He
squeezed him to death.
He squeezed him.
He chokes him to death with a scarf, but with
he's a human being. He's not a chihuahua.
Well, because there are two different metaphors, one in the movie, one in the book. So in the movie, they talk about the basement because the best line in the movie, in my opinion, Peter and Dickie or Peter and Tom are talking, and Tom. They're speculating, Dickie killed Freddie Miles, and everything's pointing toward Dickie, and Tom or Peter's like, how do you just wake up after something like that? Be a person. Wake up and have your coffee. How do you do that after you kill somebody? And Tom says, well, whatever you do, however terrible, however hurtful, it all makes sense, doesn't it? In your head. You never meet anybody who thinks they're a bad person.
Yeah.
But then they go on to talk about this. It's a metaphor. They're like, all your lies and secrets, it's like a basement. And you lock them away and you never visit them. And Tom was like, until, everybody hopes and prays they're going to meet somebody that they can let into the basement and air it out. And they know all your secrets and everything's great. And so the two of them start bonding over that. In the book, it's, there's a bar called the Green Cage, which is the metaphor for the trappings of, fanciness and money that he's going to get mired into later. But poor Tom, like you said, he's between a rock and a hard place toward the end between Kate Blanchett and Jack Davenport, and he kills Jack Davenport.
And it ends there, and you have no idea where the story will go from there.
You find out if you read the novels because there's more than one about Tom Ripley. Yeah. So it's I guess you find out in the subsequent stories about the.
He goes full Hannibal Lecter.
Because you have, it's only
what else?
Yeah, where could you go from here?
I mean,
starts light, gets heavy. What did it get light again? No.
Yeah.
Well, because Peter gets a bit jealous because he sees that Tom is kissing Kate Blanchett on the deck, and he's not happy about that.
On the what?
On the deck.
Deck.
Oh, sorry.
You kissed her. Where?
Sorry.
On the mouth. But
in the butt.
There we go back to the butt theme again. I tried to get away from it, and you pulled us right back into it.
Butt pirate.
It's the weirdest place you've ever had sex.
Up the butt. Yeah, I remember that episode.
I hate you guys.
And on that, no,
we're close to the end.
We are. No,
yeah,
this
is it.
Tom's about to murder.
He's about to
Peter.
squeeze him to death.
And
as it turns out, Peter didn't exist. It was literally like a wiener dog, and he's like,
oh no.
So I'm drowning kittens, and Jason's choking wiener dogs. It's a euphemism. Anyhow, no, but it is a very sad, poignant moment where Tom decides to kill Peter because he sits there and says another really big line, and he's just like, I always thought it would be better to be a fake somebody than a real nobody. And you see kind of his vulnerability, and that's where you don't fully demonize Tom Ripley because you can kind of see through the chinks in his armor. Like, he just wanted something so badly and stumbled into this horrible path. He didn't really plan it out. But
no.
In all the articles, people kept referring to him as a sociopath, and I don't think that's true because that illustrates somebody who has a lack of conscience. And Tom
this looks like me when I canceled Netflix.
You were curling up
I'm
with
so
a man
sorry.
in bed.
I'm so sorry. Jason, you are crushing me.
Yeah, because
die Netflix.
So Tom tells him, Peter, tell me some nice things about Tom Ripley. He says Tom is talented, Tom is tender, beautiful, a mystery. Tom is not a nobody. Tom has secrets he doesn't want to tell me, and I wish he would. He
surprisingly good with an oar.
No, God. He says Tom has nightmares. That's not a good thing. Tom has someone to love him. That is a good thing. And then you hear it gets quieter. And he's like, Tom is crushing me. Tom is crushing me, and it's really sad because he's choking him to death, but then you hear like this maniacal just sobbing, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. I by the time I got to this point, it was like just oh, he's not gonna die. Yeah, that was the only thing I was kind of hoping for was that Ripley was gonna die.
Well, if he was going to die, how was he supposed to die?
I don't know.
Who was supposed to do him in?
Oh, well, there's a million ways. He could have tried to kill Peter, and Peter, picks up something and wangs him in the head.
Or he might have eaten the fish on the boat.
Yeah.
And then killed him.
Yeah. That would have been a great ending.
Don't eat the fish.
He just craps himself to death. And like
he slumps over on the toilet.
Yeah.
Dehydrated.
And then like Peter and Kate Blanchett show up at the same time and they go, Tom, Dickie. What? Credits.
That would be great. My Dickie. No, that's my Dickie. It would have been hilarious.
Neither of them ever took him for a test drive. But so I guess we can't really do a thorough out to Seinfeld because I'm the only. Well, no, I've seen it before. Okay,
it's a 5. I didn't really like it that much back when I saw it, and I don't dislike it. It's the movie's a bit self-indulgent, and I don't really care for the performances very much.
Why?
I just don't. It's not, again, it's sort of like going to a restaurant, getting something, and it's like, well, it wasn't bad. It's like you said with Batman.
Yeah,
I didn't hate it.
Say, that's kind of how I felt.
I didn't hate it, but I couldn't, it just didn't move the needle for me.
Okay.
So it was a 5. It remains a 5 in my book. And for you?
I would say it definitely improved because I didn't get all the nuances, all the innuendo, the homoeroticism. I didn't understand any of that when I was 12. And to be able to appreciate the acting and not be scared shitless of Matt Damon, definitely that gives it a better grade in my life. So,
okay.
I would say it bumped up to a 7.
Okay.
That's good. Because I actually liked all of the actors. I felt that they were naturals at the roles in which they were cast. For instance, Gwyneth Paltrow just gives off that air of aristocracy to me.
I think just Gwyneth Paltrow to me is just a damp sponge. I've never seen Gwyneth Paltrow in a movie that made me like, oh wow, Gwyneth Paltrow was so good in this. She's not bad.
Well, she's one of those.
But
actresses.
She's just. It could have been January Jones. It could have been. You literally could have replaced Gwyneth Paltrow with anyone. And fine.
Since we've been talking about him too, it's like Ben Affleck. When you see Gwyneth Paltrow in a movie, it's not, oh, I'm seeing whoever she's playing. It's like, oh, it's Gwyneth Paltrow in this costume.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Gwyneth Paltrow in this movie. Same with Ben Affleck. I don't see who he's playing. I just see Ben Affleck. Whereas Matt Damon can actually melt into a role. I think he's actually.
Oh, Matt Damon.
He's an incredibly talented
he's a very good actor. No, and it's nothing against any of them. It's just it just didn't do it for me.
I don't know. I thought they were all incredibly well suited for the roles in which they were cast, and I can appreciate that now that I'm older. And just it's kind of relatable at the very core of it because Tom just.
Well, we've all been there.
Murdering folks to fit in. Who hasn't? No, but Minghella actually even said something about that. He said, we've all done our best to fit. I'm badly paraphrasing what he said, but it's like, we've all done our best to fit in. We've all felt, like an outcast. Very few of us are flawed enough to kill to fit in, but this is a story about that extreme. And, I can relate to that. And everybody's been the outcast. I agree with that. Yeah. But I think the movie jumped up to a 7 for sure.
Okay.
And first time I saw it, so I'll give it a 5. But there were some tense moments, I thought, with the inspectors.
Oh, absolutely.
I did like that. There were uncomfortable moments.
I like the inspector. Yeah. He was actually my favorite performance in the movie. I really liked him.
Perhaps my English is not so good.
Yeah.
No, it isn't very good. Matt Damon gets so pissy with him. Oh, that's great.
But the bath scene was a little uncomfortable. It was a little weird.
Where they were playing. Well, we didn't talk about that. So
they were playing chess.
That's where things do get really uncomfortable. Jude Law is playing chess naked in the bathroom. Matt Damon is sitting on the edge of the tub, playing with him and
never
playing
been
chess
in that
with
situation.
him.
No,
never been there.
Yeah, I was gonna. Well, not even in the Navy, Mr. Brown.
No, we had little tight showers. Only one of us could fit into for a reason.
Yeah.
They tested it. They made damn
as hard as you tried, you couldn't get more than one person in there.
That's it. My. couldn't wedge. But
Well, okay, so a little bit above a 5.
okay.
I'd say
Yeah. Well, that's
5.3.
good.
That's better than I
3.7.
expected it to fare with you two. I thought y'all were going to be merciless about
No,
this movie.
No, because it was.
This wasn't Robin Hood.
Yeah, no.
That's it. Turn the cameras off.
And for you, lady.
Going down.
On guard.
Take us home, Darth.
Yes.
Well, Hindsighters, thank you for joining us for this odd selection of mine. It's definitely been a good discussion. Way too many notes. I did too much homework because I'm a mega nerd, and we didn't get to even a quarter of what I wrote down, which is okay. But we appreciate you joining us for your drive time, your Vespa on the Italian countryside time, your murdering your lavish friends time. This has been Darth, Adam, and Jason with Hindsight, and good night.